daughter going into pre-K, and I think to myself, what kind of country is this going to be when they are our age? Do you fear that, given the craziness we're seeing from the GOP? Do you fear that for our kids, your kids and mine?
I think a lot about a lot of the big issues that we're making decisions on now. I guess I don't think about it through a political prism. Maybe that's funny, given I'm in Democratic politics.
That's a clip of CNN's Brian Stelter asking White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki if she fears a future negatively impacted by the GOP.
That was just one softball question, by the way. The panelists are back to react. Hal Lambert, Rick Green, Jennifer Kearns. Jen, let's start with you on this. What kind of an interview is this that we've seen here? It's not the only one, and you can just see the coziness. What would this do for our children, for your children, growing up, and the craziness by the GOP? Your thoughts on this, Jen?
Well, I'm surprised that they could pull themselves away from the other riveting questions that the White House press corps has been asking, such as how is the Biden's dog going to do with the new White House cat? That's been the main story in the White House press corps for the last 2 weeks, including, by the way, how Major is getting pet counseling so he can deal with the new White House cat. That is what we're dealing with in terms of the White House press corps today. Look, this sort of interview, Sean, is embarrassing, not just for true journalists, but for anyone who's been a press secretary and has been at any sort of podium. I mean, this sort of softball questioning is really sad. And here's what's even more sad, Sean, is they talk about their kindergartners, but they didn't talk about the kindergartners who are coming across the border every single day, including the video of the young gentleman, the kindergartner who was crying and screaming for his mother at the border. Those are the topics that they should be talking about with the White House press secretary.
Yeah, or even the kindergartners who have to go into school hybrid style with masks still on their face, if they're lucky to do that even. Again, those are really good, fair questions you could ask. But instead, Brian Stelter asks Psaki about the press's coverage of Biden's agenda. Let's listen to this.
What does the press get wrong when covering Biden's agenda? When you watch the news, when you read the news, what do you think we get wrong?
Again, Hal Lambert, your thoughts on that questioning that we just heard?
Well, what we witnessed there was not a journalism interview. It was what you'd see on the shallow, narcissistic cocktail circuit in D.C. I mean, that's what we witnessed. And when you think about those questions, it was all about them as journalists, and it was about Brian and their families and you know what the world is going to be like for them and how they can change the world. There was nothing of substance in that interview at all. And again, there was other clips of it where it's, back to bashing Trump and, Orange Man bad, what's the world coming to, woe is us, and the crazy GOP. It literally was a cocktail circuit, shallow conversation that you'd see on a Thursday night. That's what that was.
And it's dangerous, too, because you've got to hold them accountable. And if the White House, she represents the White House, if she feels that comfortable to answer whatever in front of a CNN anchor, that's not the way you hold them accountable at the top. Also, Jake Tapper at CNN under fire over comments he made about not booking certain Republicans on his show. Did you miss this? Listen to this.
First time he ran for president, he lied to voters, according to the New York Times, quoting aides of Biden's, about having marched in the civil rights movement.
When he gets very comfortable out on the stump speaking and other things, he has tended to embellish.
Also, okay. All right. Well, basically what happened is Tapper says in a nutshell that he won't allow liars on his show, but then they were bookers that actually reached out to, we do have the sound. Okay, let's play it.
Look, that's been the history of America, right? There's abolition and the Civil War, and then there's backlash and the rise of the KKK, and the Reconstruction ends and Jim Crow arises. We have a spurt of activity that gets things done, even after we lose Congress.
All right, that was the wrong soundbite. So let's all start over here. But again, Tapper alleging that he didn't want to book liars, and liars he's calling Republican members that pushed issues with the 2020 election. But then you had Republican lawmakers firing back at Tapper, showing email quotes of the bookers actually reaching out to them. Rick Green, your thoughts?
Well, look, I mean, the good news is that journalism is not dead. It's just that journalism on the left is dead. When a CNN interview of the White House press secretary feels more like an episode of The Bachelor, you know we've got a problem. And then you got Jake Tapper. I mean, this is the same guy that wrote a book on questioning the election results in 2016 and then says that you're a liar and a fraud if you question the election results of 2020. The hypocrisy is off the charts. The good news is, though, that the American people are picking up on this. It's why their ratings are diving. It's why more people are flocking to Newsmax. You guys aren't afraid to have people that you disagree with. You have people on all the time that I disagree with. I hate to say it, but once in a while I even disagree with you, Sean, or you, Emma. I mean, that's the beauty of this process. Iron sharpening iron. We get sharper by the process of sharpening each other's countenance. They're afraid of that. They're afraid to have the other side bring truth to their program. So now Jake Tapper just says he's going to handpick his guests. Only if they agree with him is he going to have them on.
Well, I believe Brian and Jen were former CNN colleagues together at the time she was speaking as a Democrat strategist. Jennifer, we're now learning that the White House press briefing room is, I believe, going to be back at full capacity in the very near future. Does that make you optimistic that perhaps we could get some different voices in there, different outlets asking those tough questions?
No, not at all. And in fact, I'm sure they will still be wearing masks, even though the CDC says if you are vaccinated, which most of the White House, if not all of the White House press corps is, rest assured the optics will still be in full effect. And no, conservative journalists will not be called on. Even center leaning journalists won't be called on. And look, it's just the same old news at the White House these days.
All right, got to leave it at that. Jennifer Kearns, Hal Lambert, Rick Green, thank you all so much. Folks at home, you can check out Jennifer's new column on Newsmax.com. It's titled Shocking Trend, Murders of Police Officers on the Rise. Be sure to check it out.
And good to see them. All right, a new hour now.